Okay, so it's 6:30. We'll go ahead and get started. This is our January 10th, 2020 regular board meeting of the Centerville Community School District. And we'll start with roll call to order. I'll call the meeting order and a roll call.
Johnson. Johnson.
It's like she dropped. No, there she moved.
I said here, but I can't tell if you can hear me or not.
We heard you now.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yep.
Here.
Mike Thomas.
Here.
Bob Thomas.
Here.
Shondell.
Here.
Berger.
Here.
Liskus.
Here. Okay, so we'll welcome all visitors, and I guess we, other than staff, we don't have any open visitors unless there's some people on online, but all the visitors are welcome, and we'll start with our public forum. Is there anything that anybody in the public forum wants to bring to the board's attention?
I got something if nobody else does. Lisa, have you talked any more about making the pitch our official newspaper, since they're now legal? They meet the requirements, or?
Well, I just talked briefly with Tom about it, but I haven't heard from the pitch about it.
Oh,
So,
It just happened last week.
okay.
was that last week? It seems like 2 months ago.
No, it was just last week they got their official paper.
So it would take board action for the
Yep.
board to make them an official newspaper.
I would expect that we'll probably hear something from them pretty quick, but yeah.
Can we put that on the agenda for next month?
Okay.
Anybody else have anything in the public forum setting? Okay. So I have something, I'm just going to kind of, I guess I wrote it called a statement of the board, and I can have this sent out to everybody, but I guess this is just from my position of a challenge that I'm going to issue to the board. I'm going to go ahead and read this, sir. So we're a fairly young school board with an average tenure of just over 3 years. Yet in the past 2 years, the board has faced a lot of challenges, including all aspects of COVID-19. We've issued 2 revenue bonds using saved money. We had a successful general obligation bond vote, which is no small task. We made major investments in athletic facilities that are pride of the community. We got new HVAC at Howard to include air conditioning. That building's been air conditioned for the first time in its 7-year history. And the district financial management has allowed us to change these things while reducing the overall tax levy rate. We've done a lot of good work. But we have some challenges that we face. We have a challenge in declining enrollment, and there's a negative financial impact to that. There's an increase in open enrollment out, and again, that has a negative financial impact on the district. And another challenge is that we must ensure the district is actively engaging students who have learning gaps due to the pandemic. We're in the business of preparing children for life, and we owe it to them to provide them with every opportunity for academic achievement by the time they graduate. So what's the board's role in this? Our role is to ensure the school administration has the financial tools, policies, the governing guidance, and the staffing to achieve the goals of the district. So what do we need to do as a board? Collectively, we need to use our work sessions in conjunction with superintendent and administrators to create short and long-term goals for the district. Now, that's something Tom and I have been talking about, and we're have some, we've kind of shared back and forth a list of work sessions to try and accomplish some of those things. So as soon as we have that schedule finalized, we'll give it to everybody. And at the same time, if there's things that any of you want to see as a work session, please forward them to myself and I'll get them to Tom. Or you can send them directly to Tom, either way. But collectively, we need to use our work sessions to set the goals for the district. And then individually, each board member should take personal initiative to professionally grow as a board member by regularly reading articles on the Learning Hub of the IASB website. And I challenge each board member to attend at least 2 IASB workshops this year. There are many virtual workshops that do not require travel. In the heading of every board meeting agenda, it states, all students will learn well, become lifelong learners, and contribute positively to society. And I'm challenging each board member to lead by example by being a lifelong learner and to personally grow yourself as a board member through the IAFB Better Boardmanship Program. So I think we're a young board, we've done a lot, but I also think that we need some to develop ourselves as board members. And I just challenge everybody to be on the website, read articles regularly, and attend some training sessions on it. So any comments on that? Okay. And I can get a copy of that sent out to everybody if you want to have it. So the next thing is to approve the agenda, and based on Tom's recommendation, you're going to strike or eliminate item E, which is the approved board policies. And there's a series of them that related to the OSHA vaccine mask mandate. The Supreme Court met on Friday, and we think it's prudent to not impose or enact any policies until we have a final ruling from the Supreme Court. So I'd like to approve the agenda with striking item E.
So moved. Second.
All right, all in favor of approving the agenda striking item E, signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed?
Yes.
We'll take that as a approval, yes. All opposed, say no. And the agenda is approved.
Hey,
Me-
Kevin,
Yes,
can we just assume I'm a yes unless I chime in a no?
you bet.
Thank
Okay,
you.
that's fair. Approve the meeting of the previous meetings. We got the minutes of the previous meetings. They're there from December 13th for your review.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion second to approve the minutes from the previous meeting. All in favor signify by saying yes. Yes. All opposed, nay. And the meetings are the minutes of the previous meetings are approved. There is no old business, new business. The first one is action. So we are going to basically approve a resolution to put the Howard project to bid. I'll just go ahead and read the resolution. Resolution tentatively approving the plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimate of total cost of the Centerville Community District Howard Phase 2 project, and setting the time, date, and location for a hearing thereon, and further authorizing the posting of a notice seeking competitive bids on said Howard Phase 2 project. We're going to get Rachel Hines in here to speak. Now, there's several documents in your packet. There's a bid estimate of $941.38, or $941,438. There's a timeline for the hearing. We let the bids basically in February, we would approve the bids or award the bids. There's bid notices, a notice of public hearing, and a resolution. So, Ms. Hines, if you walk us through this, please.
Yes, thank you for having me tonight. Sorry I wasn't there in person. So for the Howard Phase 2 is the extension of providing air conditioning at Howard Middle School. This includes updating all HVAC components in the 1970s wing, which is the south half of Howard. It also includes updating the HVAC in the band room as well, which currently has a unit that is not running properly, and the ones that are with end of life. So that will be replaced. This also includes finishing the remaining upgrades to the fire alarm in the 1970s wing and providing ceiling upgrades in the 1970s wing as well. By ceiling upgrades, I mean replacing all the ceilings. We're going to be demoing all of the ductwork that's above ceiling. So we're going to need to, it just would be best to replace those ceilings at that time. So that's what this project includes. So the total construction cost that we are estimating right now is $812,211 for the construction cost on that. And the timeline for this project. So like it will go out for CD, or obviously we're talking tonight at the board meeting. It will go out next week for bid, and then it will bid on February 10th. And then we will have contracts awarded on February 14th, followed by a couple months of shop drawing review that will require just some lead time items and things like that. So that gives us time to start in June. June 7th is our start date with a finish of August 2nd. So it's going to be a pretty quick timeline there. 2 months. I know Tom and I have talked about what needs to be ready in Howard. That's why we're doing it June 7th. Classrooms need to be cleared out and cleaned out, and I think everyone's on board with that. So, any questions?
Yeah, do you think there's any asbestos in that part of the building?
So actually, Tim did get an asbestos report for that area of the building. You have minimal asbestos in that section of the building. Most of it is actually in your tile, your flooring, and we are not touching the flooring on this project. So we don't anticipate there to be much removal with that. Tim, I don't know if Tim's on, but he might be able to speak to that as well.
So there's no piping insulation that we have to worry about this time. That's good. Okay.
How about, Rochelle, like on the other project, we had to extend the walls all the way up to the ceiling. Is that something that will need to be done on this one, or do we know yet?
Yes, we do know, and we've included it in this project, so it will be part of this as well. Yes, that is correct. We do.
And what sort of, shall we say, materials problems do you anticipate? I know.
It's always a tricky question.
Well, we received some rather, as I recall, some rather from the general contractor and from you that there wouldn't be any problems and that we'd be back in that school by, time school started in August. And here it is January, and I think we're still working on a punch list. How do you see that shaping up for this project?
Yeah, I think this project's a little bit different than the first phase of phase 1 of Howard. So I think it's a little bit different animal. This one is really going to be the equipment that is going to be the biggest concern for this project, the big piece of equipment. And right now there's about a 12 to 16 week lead time. So our thought on the design side is that everything gets pretty much done and ready to go. Ductwork's installed, everything's installed except for the unit. And then when the unit comes, everything's ready. And then it's testing and balancing and those items and things like that. There are some things that we have been able to do recently on projects to help with the lead time, selecting some different components within those larger units. So we'll also look at that at the time of shop drawing review and procurement to see if we can help with those lead times as well.
Do we have to do anything in the boiler room, or is that major infrastructure there and are we just talking about units in the classrooms?
So with this project, your largest unit, we're actually going to be adding an outside unit outside the mechanical room on the south half of the building.
Okay.
And
do any boiler room work?
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
But we don't have to do anything major in the boiler room. That's all done.
Correct. Most of that is complete. Yep.
A different heating system, isn't it?
Correct.
Heated electrically, right?
Yeah, it's a completely different unit. Yep. So it's utilizing a different system. That is correct.
There were some units that were in the boiler room that didn't come until like November. And those are the really long lead time ones.
Yeah, but I don't think there's one more than that.
That was my question. One of my questions.
Correct. Correct.
Any other questions from the board? If none, can we have a motion?
Motion to approve resolution.
This is one.
Okay, it's a roll call vote, okay. We have a motion to approve the resolution. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Johnson,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Mike Thomas,
Yes.
Bob Thomas,
Yes.
Shondell,
Yes.
Berger,
Yes.
Liskus.
Yes, thank you. Okay, on the next item, and again, we're gonna ask you to help clarify what this is, but it's to approve a certificate of substantial completion for general contract work for high school track and field project. Can you help us with what is a certificate of substantial completion mean?
Yeah, so for substantial completion, that means that the project is usable by the owner. It is able to be used and functions. It usually starts the warranty period of that particular whatever you were doing the substantial completion on. So for the high school field, we discussed that November 8th is what we would recommend as a substantial completion on that project. Everything was complete by that time, and that's when your warranty period has started.
So is there anything left to be done there? Handrails need to be adjusted? Is there anything left?
Yes, handrails are probably the biggest thing, and then we need some seed. Correct.
Need some what?
We need some seed. The owner has requested some additional seed to plant in the spring. You guys have it.
So the seed and the handrails will be the spring?
Hopefully handrails will be done before that, but seed would be spring, correct?
So we already paid for those, or we're gonna have a final bill to pay for those things, or how do we make sure we get those done?
Yep, so right now you have a retainage on the project. So the whole project is still holding a 5% retainage until we are complete with the closeout. So substantial completion really just marks the period of time where the owner can start to use the facility or use for its intended use. And then now we're kind of in the closeout period where we're trying to get final owner's manuals, as-built, attic stock, those items, and kind of wrapping up some odds and end punch lists and things like that, where we hold that 5% retainage that you guys will then be billed on once we've certified that it's been finally complete.
Okay, so the 5% doesn't come out to the punch list is 100%.
Correct.
And Tim and I talked today about the handrails, and he had contacted Bill Buss about following up on that. So Bill Buss is the one that says when they're done right, Bill Buss says they're done right.
And what handrails is that?
Said that's the one, no, it's the one down.
Handicap sidewalk.
I thought those were put in.
They are.
They are put in incorrectly.
They're not
Sorry,
ADA,
I was spacing.
they're not ADA approved, I think. they're-
Well, I want to be careful because I don't know that it's the entire handrails on both sides. I think
Right.
there's a portion of it that isn't quite high enough or low enough, and that can be remedied. Yeah, I don't believe all the rails are bad.
Bill said they're not right, so.
Yeah. Go get them right. And it's a local group that can, you don't have to wait on somebody from far away to get it done.
Any other questions on the athletic facilities certificate of substantial completion? There's no question. Can we have a motion, please?
Second.
We have a motion, a second to approve the certificate of substantial completion on the high school athletic track and field project. And is this a roll call or is this just? No, or just a voice vote. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, say nay.
Okay, Lisa, what's the difference between the first motion and this motion?
Well, the first one's a resolution,
I got you.
and there's legal paperwork that specifically
Yeah, I
says.
got you.
You good?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. All right, so motion passes. We're taking vote of the yes. Item C is approve the certificate of substantial completion for general contract work including electrical and mechanical for the renovation to Howard Middle School Phase 1. So how are we on the punch list there?
So we got a few items still left over. We were out there, we met on site last week, and there are probably about a handful of items left architecturally. They're still working through a few HVAC items and also electrical items and fire alarm items. So there's still some left on those punch lists. Now, this is not a final completion. This is obviously just a substantial completion. So we still have that 5% retainage. And we did receive closeout documents this week. So we're good on reviewing those and as-built as well.
Okay,
And we would recommend November 8th as the substantial completion of that project.
Motion approved. Second.
all right. We have, two from the facilities committee, so we've got a motion, a second to approve the certificate of substantial completion for the Howard Middle School Project Phase 2. All in favor, signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. All opposed, no. And we'll take Brooke as a yes, and so that motion passes. Okay. High school addition update. Item B. Who wants to go first? You, Matt, or Rochelle?
I was gonna ask Rochelle to start us, Matt, and then you chime in on some of the things that you want to get from your perspective.
Yeah, I can start. Do you guys have the plan in front of you, or do you just want me to discuss a little bit of the kind of where we're at in the process?
They don't have the plan in front of them. Did you get one in the board?
They have what you sent, so the cost and then the one
Okay, I didn't
page
know you
sheet.
had that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys do have the plan in front of you. I can also share it too as well on my screen here. So we met with several user groups last month to discuss specific areas of the building, including the gym, general teachers, as well as IT department, your administration there. We went with Matt and his team, and also the counselors there, and the mechanical and custodial side as well. So after that meeting, we kind of showed them kind of the current layout of the plan. So you guys, this has changed a little bit probably since you guys have seen it. So I want to update you guys a little bit where we're at. We're sitting on that. After some planning with the user groups and also the visioning session that we had with some groups, it was important to treat the main entry at the level of the drive aisle here. Can you guys see my cursor?
Yeah.
There? Okay. I can try to get a little bit more noticeable as well. And so everything with this kind of darker line that you see around certain areas of the building, that is all raised to the level of this drive here and this existing parking lot here. So that you come in and you actually enter in onto the level of the street, basically street level. And then everything that's below that here in the classroom wing, the kitchen, including the existing wrestling and part of the commons area here, would all be at the same level as your existing kind of IT South addition here. So you would have that connection through there. The purple here is your administration area. So you come in, you have reception here, you have offices for administration, a nurse's suite, and then kind of a back exit out of there as well. So kind of creating a loop in there. And then the offices here are for your counselor guidance offices. Media centers located here along the existing building, and that we will divide up into a variety of different spaces based on our user group. We're in the process of working on that now. And then you can see we kind of laid out the classroom slightly differently. Thought it was important to not create a pinch point in a straight corridor and kind of start to carve out some space in that corridor here that might be able to act as a small breakout space to these classrooms here. So creating some interest in this classroom wing here. The commons area will be split into a higher and lower area. So you have your serving and your kitchen, and that's where people will grab their lunch, and then they'll come into the commons. They can sit here, or they can walk up the stairs and sit here. Kind of creating a 2-level atmosphere, which is good for visibility and just kind of create some interesting opportunities within that space. A large opening would be provided into the gym space here, so you can really have the gym and the commons area occupied or open at the same time and kind of create one large space if needed. Off of the gym, we have a locker room for men's and women's, storage room, some mezzanine storage / mechanical space above that. And then we have the weight room here off to the south with an office and training area. So that kind of gives you kind of an update of where we're at specifically on the plan. So now we're kind of taking all those user group comments. We're going to get it into the plan a little bit more detailed, and we'll come back to everyone and have a little bit more conversation about what specifically goes into your classroom. Like, what do you want? Those kind of things. So we're starting to narrow in on that and get a little bit more detail developed. Matt, I don't know if you had anything else
No, I really
to add
don't.
to that.
I don't have much to add to that. You did a good job kind of summing up the work that's been done. The only thing I would mention is, as we've seen these plans from the literature we put out for the bond vote to now, I think you can see there's been, based on input that we've got from community groups, teacher groups, there have been quite a few changes really in the design using that feedback. So.
Okay. So what is the next step, or where we just have to get some more in-classroom input? And then.
Yep. So what we'll do is we'll go back, we'll develop some elevations as well, some exterior design too, that we'll bring back to the board to you guys to get your final approval for design development. And we'll just continue to hone in on the details, and we'll plan a time to meet with all the teachers here in the next month or so.
When do you think you'd have I guess to use like we did, a resolution to go forward with the project? What do you think the timeline on that is?
I would say that we are moving forward with this project. I would say the next resolution would probably be design development, with I have at the end of February.
So we could approve a resolution to go to bid in a month?
No, that's design development, and then for construction documents. So if we're talking, let me pull up the schedule here.
Okay. That's the step I was missing.
Yes. Right now, the schedule is to come to the board at the end of April, early part of May for that resolution.
Okay.
Yep. So that's the plan right now. And then June, we would have a bid and we would know kind of what that cost comes in at, was our plan.
Okay. The reason I'm asking is in our finance committee meeting, we had a meeting with Matt Gillespie. And based on what you had in here and what Matt Gillespie told us, that $14,776,918 is pretty close to the penny what we're gonna have. Is that a fair statement?
What is the change in elevation in that commons area?
It is the same distance that you have from your auditorium to your tech wing right now. It's about 4 feet, a little over 4 feet.
Mike, to give you a frame of reference would be, you know, if you're heading south from the auditorium to go down into that tech wing, that there's the ramp to the east, if I have my directions correct, and then those stairs going straight south, that's the elevation change you'll see. I guess the other thing that I would just offer up as the building administrator's perspective, and probably something for all of you to understand too, is when we moved from the 1917 to, you know, this design is all of this extra space that we've grown so accustomed to really is not going to exist. I mean, we're going to utilize every part of this new construction, and we've grown accustomed to having a lot of room so we could spread out, and I think that's going to be some adjustment.
Well, I don't, on that note, I know you've probably got lots of stuff, and I don't see a place for much stuff in this plan.
Yeah, that's one concern that we have in terms of you know, storage for the various activities that we have. Now, we actually have more storage for our PE department because they basically have no storage now. But you know, activities such as student council, I would say that, you know, theater and drama actually within our chorus room and the corresponding spaces that are in there, there's actually quite a bit of storage that I think that if we reorganized and did even more spring cleaning, we'll find that we have room. But yeah, I don't disagree with you, Mike. I mean, we're going to have to really be critical in looking at the things that we have and what do we actually need and what do we need to keep and what should we get rid of. We like to hold on to things, and sometimes, you know, hey, we've had this for 7 or 8 years. Do we still need it? Well, we might use it sometime. We run into those things.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at that outdoor learning space.
Mhm.
You know, it looks to me like there could be some storage added and into that area pretty easily.
Yeah, I don't disagree either. Just I know that when more square footage equals, that's square footage outside of the building. You know what I mean?
That's yes and no. I mean, I would attach it to the building, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
Right, but I mean,
Square footage just costs us waste.
it is, but you know, we got one shop here to make this right.
Yeah.
And to put up a building that doesn't have enough storage is,
One of the opportunities that I discussed with Rochelle, and I don't know if it's a possibility or not, but that hallway that connects the science wing, it runs just north of Simon Estes Auditorium. If you're kind of, if you can get yourself situated, that they're on that north side where there's actually it's where the teacher's lounge is. There's also another room that is utilized for some Strat 2 students. And we have a lot of mechanical stuff underneath there. So how that gets kept and how that gets reworked, might there be some possibility for some storage area there? Me not being an architect or anything, thinks maybe, but.
Oh, I know it's hallway. It kind of goes east-west.
Yeah, it goes east-west.
East-west on the north side of the auditorium.
Mhm.
Yep. And we're looking at that, Matt, with our structural engineer as well. So seeing what possibilities we would have there to do that.
So you're saying turn that hallway into,
Not the hallway, but you know, the north side of the hallway has used to be a classroom where we did, was it World of Work?
Yeah, there's
Right.
an emergency exit right there.
And there's an emergency exit. There's also another couple rooms on the north side of that hallway. So not knowing exactly how all that demolition and what's kept and how it looks, might that be an opportunity for,
Save that for storage.
yeah, or part of it, or however they would work it.
Okay.
There's a basement under there, so you're gonna have to, like, you say structurally look at that.
Well, and the mechanical is in,
Yeah.
like, when you go down, I believe, and Rochelle, you can correct me on this, I'm probably wrong, but when you go down the stairwell, like you're going to the cafeteria, you go straight into that room, it's all mechanical stuff that we have to keep for, I think, both the tech wing and the science wing.
Correct. It's for the science wing.
Science
That is
wing.
correct. Yep. A portion of that has to be saved. Correct.
Yeah.
I like the idea of sort of entrance at street level, that kind of solves that little visibility problem thing. I see those steps in the middle of the commons area, and a 48-inch rise, 7 inches per step means 7 steps, 12 inches per tread, that's 7 feet of space you're gonna lose out of that room. That doesn't look like that much there, or maybe it's to scale, I don't know, but that's a lot of 7 feet, pretty much all the way across the room is quite a bit. I don't know any other way around it, but I just want people to be aware of that.
Right.
That you are taking a 7-foot swath out of the middle of the room.
And those steps, the wider ones that you see there in the comments, are going to act as more of almost a, I don't want to say lecture, but seating opportunities here. So they're wider, so they kind of, we call them learning stairs. And they give an opportunity for students to sit on there, and this would be your kind of mode of traffic here, obviously. But yes, it does take a chunk of the commons out, that is for sure.
Yeah, and along with the commons, right now, I think we're looking at, depending on the furniture that we have, you're looking at the ability to seat about 250 students, 250 people in that room.
Versus what you're seeing now.
Oh, I mean, we could pack them in and get like 120, 130. Oh, yeah. And it's packed when we have that many downstairs.
And does 250 reflect your student body now?
But it reflects a size that would allow us to run 2 lunches comfortably, even. And I want to go on record saying, I'm not saying we're doing this, but if you had a closed lunch, you could still, I mean, we could handle it. It'd be more of an issue of, do we have the serving and personnel capacity to handle 200 kids in a lunch? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's.
Does this include all the furnishings, or is that a separate number?
Yeah,
On the next page, what is that spy owner?
yeah, that's right. FFA.
I don't,
Thank you.
Roman numeral 2 under equipment.
that says technology allowance.
No, the one above it.
Not seen it.
Just building and program allowance.
So the building and program allowance is
Oh, it's over there on the side, it's not tabbed over. Got it.
so this number here is your fixtures. So like that would be your furniture, those kind of items. I'll also get this number updated. I got some numbers from Cameron as well for technology.
So the 276 is the FF&E that we're gonna do outside of the soft cost.
Correct, by owner. Yep, that would be if you bought any other furniture or any other items for the building. Yep.
It's in the budget, we're gonna do it separately, not pay soft costs on it, that's what that means. Got it.
And I just want to be clear, the abatement is under review right now. Tim is working with someone to review and provide some costing on that abatement for that demolition of the existing building.
So I have to think we need to assume that there is asbestos in the 1917 building.
There is, yes, correct. It is labeled. You have a report that tells you that already. So it's just how much is it, and then how much is it going to cost? So that's what we have to kind of get a little bit more of a handle on, because that if this is your overall number that you have, the 1477, you know, that's going to be play a role into that, and we need to know that. So
I know I don't want you to think I'm going to hold you to the number, but if you had to guess today, would you say 100,000, 200,000, 300,000?
I have not seen the final report yet, so I can't really speak to that.
But there used to be stuff written on the wall about how much asbestos, is that still there? I'm 30 years behind the times, there were certain rooms that they had measured what was in there.
I'm not familiar with that.
Okay.
I think the biggest thing that we have to figure out right now, not on, kind of maybe in conjunction with the planning of this, is what we're going to do once construction starts with the students in the park. I think that maybe is even just as big to try to figure out.
I think Matt's thought about that already, haven't you?
I mean, we have some initial thoughts, but I mean, nothing solidified. I mean, I think one of the ideas that we think has some merit is west of the current gymnasium, that large grass area, putting down quite a bit of rock and turning that into a parking lot. You only have one access to that at this point, and it's kind of quite an incline. We'd have to find another way, maybe on the west side.
On the street there.
Yeah, on the street, but then that runs into our buses in the morning and afternoon. So not that we couldn't work around that, but I think that has some merit. I don't know. We haven't investigated it thoroughly.
And we don't have a cost necessarily to do that yet either. That would have to be in this budget, correct?
Yeah.
So.
And again, I'm speaking about things I don't really understand, but some of that rock that we would use in the parking lot, I'm assuming might be able to get repurposed as the I can call it underlayment or whatever that they would use when we do our new parking lot. So.
Yeah, I mean, we got a temporary parking lot, and then we have demolition of the building and a new parking lot on top of the old one. So there's some pretty big numbers in here.
My guess is we're probably not going to pay the parking lot for a few years.
Probably not.
But we do have to have a plan during the construction, and we did talk about that a little bit, and we'll, I mean, it has to be done, and we'll keep you updated on what we think our best thoughts are, and it could involve people outside of the school system because of traffic flow and the whole shooting there. So, yeah, it's another step for us, something to keep from.
I don't want to go too far, but I would say from the finance committee meeting, it would probably be a minimum of 5 years before we have money to talk to pay. That sound reasonable?
I'd say so.
Could be.
And I guess looking at that teacher's parking lot, that's part of this plan. Is that a paved lot in this plan?
That's not your temporary, that's your.
For sure.
Temporary.
No, that was shown as gravel. That's really your existing lot that you have there.
Okay.
The paved lot that we accounted for is on the north side, that addition, that new one. So if you wanted to make this one paved instead of the one on the north side, that is in the budget to do this, to pave a parking lot.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can see in this parking lot, 80 spaces, which is about 45,000 square feet, we were estimating, and we'll continue to work through those details, but the question would be is which parking lot do you want to pave? Maybe.
It's pretty easy to assume that, like, what I would call the west parking lot, southwest parking lot, that would all be taken up into the staging area for the construction.
The staff parking lot down there.
I guess
It's
it's
marked
marked.
as that.
This one right here. Yep, that one's gone, during construction of the new. Yes.
I was thinking even anything to the east of the restroom room, all that's gonna be not, you're not gonna park on that.
No.
How many spots do you think we need for students? Staff and students?
How many we got now?
Oh, I don't have that number handy. I apologize.
40 something.
We did talk about that at some meeting.
Talked about it.
Some-
Yeah.
I'd say roughly 200.
So, I mean, the majority, large number of our students drive.
Park on the side
And
street.
the streets won't handle, all. You know, as far as
No.
on-street parking, that wouldn't. Well,
I think limited parking is something that other schools deal with, and to see what that might end up looking like for CHS will be something we'll continue to look at.
You know, it just, everything in Texas is not necessarily bigger, but sometimes it's different. I have a cousin who lives in Texas, in a Dallas suburb, in a 2,000 or 3,000 student high school. Seniors get reserved parking to the point where it's insane. They'll actually go out and paint and decorate their own parking spots.
Yeah.
Because everything's different in Texas. So maybe that's something that as we go through, I'm just thinking is a reserve spots for carpools of 3 or more kids or something like that.
Yeah,
That's
it'll
where I'm
be,
going with that.
yeah, and it is, my frame of reference, I'm still, sometimes I think back, well, when I was in Missouri, freshmen and sophomores didn't drive to school, so parking was a different beast.
Yeah. But I think if we had some spots that were, you'll get close parking if you carpool.
Yeah.
Because there'd probably be some kids that would do that. We're gonna have to look at creative solutions like that. Okay. Any other discussion on the high school project?
We'll be coming back in front of you again once we make the adjustments and meet with more staff and parking.
Thanks for all the work. This is getting exciting. Personally, I started on a community advisory board in 2014 on this project, and I know people probably been before that. So the fact that we could go to bid this summer is very encouraging. Thank you for everybody and all the work that's going into it. Item E, we struck. Item F, approve the at-risk dropout grant application for 2022-2023. That is in your packet for $480,855. Are there any questions on that?
Technically, the motion has to have the dollar amount, so
Okay,
I'm just saying that.
did you hear that? So whoever makes the motion, please make a motion to include the dollar amount of $480,855, please.
make a motion to approve the at risk for $480,855.
Simple vote, roll call.
Just as a.
Simple vote. Okay, all in favor of, I'm sorry, give me a second. As soon as I said that, I got it. Thank you. We have a motion
I already second.
Yeah,
and we have a second. Okay, got it. So we have a motion, a second on approving the at-risk dropout grant for $480,855. All in favor, signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. All opposed, no. And the motion passes. Item G, approve personnel business procedures. Normally, we do take these in mass unless there's objections. And I will say, Lisa, thank you for the explanation number 5 for Mike's question and on the officials in there.
I didn't think about it, so.
It's all right. I appreciate,
I know.
I appreciate the explanation though.
Yeah, it's good.
Okay. So the matter before us is personnel business. Questions, comments, motions? Anybody? Okay, is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve all the personnel business procedures.
There's a motion, a second to approve personnel business procedures as listed in the packet. All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. All opposed, no. The motion passes. All right, finance committee reports. What's that?
Financial.
Oh, financial reports, sorry. Bills and so forth for review. I was getting ahead of myself.
One question, because I saw it on this other one now, that we got. Iowa Media Network pitch. Do we have just like a standard monthly
Like a contract with them.
contract, is that what?
Mhm.
So the one in here is 1/6, I believe.
It's what?
And I think the one in here is gonna be January 6th, in the 27th day.
Did we have another one in the
There was
packet?
one in the packet.
Okay.
I don't know where. Over that, December 1 of being.
Okay, so the one in the additional bills was for January 2022.
Do you have a page number though?
I don't, that's why I didn't even think about it until I saw the one on this one we got.
Here, I can put it on here.
I've been thinking about this as you're looking for this on the financial reports. A lot of times we'll have questions on a certain bill. And I know this morning, or actually yesterday, I emailed Lisa a list of 4 or 5 questions I had on the bills. And what I did on that was I wrote page 113, something like that.
Yeah.
So if you want to question a bill, I think for everybody's sake, you need to be able to tell us what page it's on in your packet, just so that we can all find it a little easier. It just helps speeds up the process.
It's December, so this one's in the packet is December and the other one is January.
Okay, so the timing.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else on the bills? Or any of the financial reports?
Motion to approve the financial report.
Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the financial reports and the bills. All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, say no. And the financial reports are approved. Now we can do the committee reports. So we had a finance committee meeting. And so Tim, one of the things we do is we report on after that, and I've got notes, and so I'll do it, and I know Brooke's driving, so. But this is usually, as you kind of get sped up on this, if I miss something, that's when you can add some things in. But, you know, we'll get you kind of a few board meetings underneath your belt before we put you on the spot for that, so. Tim Castor came in, and we talked about the transportation needs and buses. What's gonna happen is later this month at our work session, we will have a special meeting before the work session to bring a lease in front of the board for buses and Suburbans. Now, as Tim reported out, there's 19 buses. We probably need 14. There's a bunch that will go away. The average age of our fleet has gone dramatically down over the years because 5 years ago, the district did lease 5 buses. And so he's got some quotes on it to continue. And we think what a good plan is, every 5 years, replace 5 buses. That's 15. We need kind of like 14, 15 range. At one point, the average age of the bus was 12 or 15 years or something like that. And this would kind of keep us in the fleet average about 7.5 years. There's some 24-year-old buses out there that need to be replaced. And so the lease is going to be, the cost before the interest is like $581,500. It looks like the money is going to be 2% money on the lease, which is pretty stinking cheap, we think. And it'll be like 120,000 a year. That will come out of the 150,000 couple transportation fund. So it is budgeted for that. And you'll get one special ed bus with a lift. There'll be one trip bus. And we talked about the difference between a trip bus and a route bus. The route buses will be gas. He says at this point, gas is better to go. But the trip bus will be diesel, basically for gas mileage. And we had a long discussion when to do the difference in those. But he's going to bring that in. There's 6 to 9 month lead time. So that's why we want to get in front of the board as soon as possible. He's got Suburbans are being used heavily due to a lack of drivers. Coaches are doing a lot of driving and so forth to get kids to activities on Suburbans. So we think we probably need to replace 2 Suburbans. They're going to come in a little over 48,000, which I thought was pretty inexpensive for Suburban. The issue is the quotes that he's got from who will give him a quote to place an order. No guarantee on the time. But our recommendation is going to be go ahead and get them on order because they're not going to get any cheaper. So when he says we don't know how long, we don't know if it could be 6 months, 12 months, or 24 months. Nobody will give any type of guarantee other than when we get your order, we'll put an order into the factory. And if you've been watching vehicles in the news, that sounds about right. We talked about some other transportation issues that I don't think at this time we really need to bring up. Other than there's a need for drivers, there's just a shortage of drivers. So there's probably gonna be some further discussion, maybe some work sessions or something come up where we're gonna probably have to tackle a bus driver issue. Matt Gillespie came on. He talked about how much money we have available and so forth, the bond. That's where it comes from, what the cost estimates are pretty much in line with what we think we have. Matt did say there's a little bit more money, but we also know that there's going to be things like asbestos and so forth. So I think we just have to treat it like we're 14,775 or whatever the number is, because my guess is there's going to be inflationary issues in it, and we need to save for some of the contingency things. We will probably have a bond. We'll issue a bond sometime this spring or summer to get the balance of the money that we have in. Lisa's going to talk about putting a kind of a 1 page of just what all the monies are and what we're going to need to do. We do anticipate later in the year, there's probably going to be some rate increases, but right now it's still hovering around 2%. So if you follow the news and the Federal Reserve from last week, they've signified there's probably going to be rate increases to stem inflation this year. So it probably makes sense to do that. And we could possibly, it'll have to be a public notice, but it is small enough where a bank could do it. And if we had a local bank that was interested in doing that, would save tremendously in some of our bond issuance costs. So we'll probably, as we go through the public notice and put it out to everybody who looks at the bonds, we'll probably also make sure we engage our local banks to say, if you wanted to do it, there's an opportunity.
But they've never wanted to in any of our past ones.
We'll see.
Okay.
We're gonna ask. I'll go and ask.
I thought we asked in the past too.
So there's a limit with that a bank can do.
Right.
So this last one that was 10 million, the bank can't do that. But at a 2 million, the reason we did out of the 12 million we had to do, we did the 10 was at least 2 million that we could go and get a bank to do a bond on that, so. They may not want to do it, but we're still gonna ask, so. And I think that's kind of sums up the financial. You have anything to add to the finance committee? Okay. Anything from facilities committees you want to report on?
No, I think Rochelle went through
Okay.
all the stuff we dealt with.
All right.
One thing that's kind of a big project for us that we, from time to time, the pandemic came along, but we've talked about our food and nutrition program. And is there a way for us to consider making that better? And I did mention to, I think, at a board meeting, it's been a while ago, and I said, are we still interested in at least learning more about what our options are and so on? The message I got was yes. So what I've done is I've contacted 2 firms that I've invited to come down to present to a committee, not necessarily a board. Yes, board members. So that's on Monday, January 31st from 5 to 8. I would ask that a couple of board members volunteer to set in with several other people to see what they have to say, then we can kick it around and so on. So if I had a couple of you that wanted to volunteer, Kevin, to serve on that, I'd appreciate it. We can go up to 3 if you want to, because then we're not in official session. So that's, and then we see what they have to say. These things, I think they're a little bit more intense and complicated than what we realize, but we'll bring you into the loop on that because we do have the state nutrition program that is actively involved on making this legal for federal funding for free and reduced and all that kind of stuff. So that's on there. So if you want to, Kevin,
Let's take volunteers now.
What's the date?
January 31st is a Monday. 5 to 8.
Yeah.
But this isn't something that, if you can't make 5 and you get there. In fact, I don't even know for sure if that's the exact time. I set those 3 hours aside. We could whittle that down to 5:30 to 8 or 7:30. So if you really have an interest in being part of it, just lock in the date, late afternoon, early evening, and then we'll get you the times and stuff. Mike, you're in? Okay, Tim's in.
I would go.
If she wants to go, let her go. That's fine.
Okay, you sure? Okay, got then Brooke. So Brooke and Tim and Mike will consider to be part of that group when we get there. Okay, thank you on that. Yeah, I do. Just a couple of things is that, as you know, Indian Hills is going to be doing some building out there, and they're kind of partners of ours in terms of they're going to have to free up some space. And I'm not going to get into the details of it, but Matt has met with Noel in terms of how we may have to cooperate on some space for a period of time at the high school until they get some things finished up. And now we have space out there that we use for the ACC. And the only thing is, well, I think it'll be a very friendly negotiations in terms of we do pay them to use that space and we're going to have to work some things out. I just wanted you to know that that conversation is being held with Indian Hills. Kevin took the initiative to identify some topics that we've handed out on the board work sessions. And how did we finish? Did you let me know?
We meet tomorrow.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, so we can go over them, then I think we get them out, because what I would like is the board have them put on work sessions.
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying is, let us know somehow of these, or if there's something not on here that you would have an interest in.
I could send that to you, and then Kate can send it out.
Okay.
To everybody, yeah.
Okay. Anyway, board work sessions, we do have one on January 24th, which is 2 weeks from today. We will have a board work session I think as I put on the one handout, February, March, April. And I know you're busy people and so on, so we're through April, but because of our high school project, because of like the food service thing, there'll be some other meetings that we'll have to get put together and so we can make the decisions and move forward. So we had a good experience in Rhonda. You're gonna throw something at me here, but please don't. Rhonda worked hard with some other folks in the district, bringing Joe Beckman in. We had a good time last week with his presentation. And I thought, Rhonda, when you and I talked the other day, we're having some conversations about maybe bringing him back in the spring, in May sometime. So Ed Bob was there, Mike was there. I guess, I don't know if any other board members were in attendance, but it went very, very well. And I was telling Mike and Bob, in the olden days, we ran all the kids in the gym, and then you brought in a motivational speaker. The motivational speaker went home, and the kids talked about the motivational speaker for an hour and a half, and that was all there was to it. Now we were more sensitive to follow up and engaging kids if we really strike something that is meaningful, and I think we did. So we're going to continue to work with Joe Beckman on some additional appearances in Centerville, Iowa. That's all I had, Kevin.
Okay. So is there going to be a facilities committee meeting before the work session?
Yes, there will be.
Okay, so on the 24th.
24th, I have it down for facilities group.
Okay, so
We'll,
go ahead.
I don't know how far we'll be along, but we'll review, probably review our buildings and grounds projects and begin to think about that, because you guys would like to get Tim moving on it and get input from the building principals, because that 600,000 is still the number that we use for those projects. So we'll begin working on that. There could be something on any of the projects that we have going on as well.
Yes. All right, does anybody else have anything?
I have a question.
Okay.
Mr. Pastor is retiring.
Yes.
It would be in our best interest is if we hired his replacement so that there was at least several months of overlap. So that, it's not a handoff. Okay. Building grounds and transportation are two of our biggest issues in this district. And I don't know what your time frame is, but and I don't know when he's actually going to retire. I haven't heard that. So I do think we need some overlap there.
Yeah. I've had several conversations with Tim and doing some planning on it. And so I don't have anything for you right now, but what I'd like to do is 2 weeks from tonight, when we meet on the 24th, we can have a discussion on what some of my thoughts are and how we could do that.
Sounds good.
And I've always said that when you have people that are leaving position, that is the time to say, now, does this position remain the same? Are there a unique way of doing it? Do we need to fill a position? That's the time to do it. So I like to do this thoroughly with some good thought, and certainly interested in some of the thoughts you may have.
Sure.
Good question. Anything else? Okay, before we adjourn, just Cameron, thank you for keeping us alive technologically so everybody can zoom in. Appreciate that. Melissa, thanks for organizing the agenda and all the documents and pass it on to Kate too. Appreciate that. To all the staff, we thank you for everything that you guys continue to do on a daily basis with the kids in our district. And just appreciate all the work and the effort. With that, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
So I was gonna die for lack of second. We're good. All in favor of adjourning, please say yes.
Yes.
Yes. All opposed? Thank you. Have a good evening.